Chloe, welcome to the Exchange Wire Kitchen. Thank you for joining me for a coffee. First off, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Chloe. I'm the Performance Director at eight&four. So I've been there for just over 6 years, and my role focuses on impact, education and innovation. So just to explain a little bit more about that. Yeah. So I head up the Innovation Lab offering at eight&four. So that's our commercialized training product, right, which essentially helps clients and brands get up to date as they can on the social media, because it's so fast paced and always changing. So it's kind of bespoke sessions that we run for them. And then I also work with our creative technology team. So this is to build like automated live dashboards, and that kind of goes back to the impact side, because it's all about measuring the impact of a channel launch, a paid approach, or a creator activation.
Amazing, so interesting. And yeah, we're going to dive into that a little bit, because I think there's an interesting relationship between the social media and performance side that's kind of, it needs it needs thought, and it needs a lot of care and attention, so we're going to dive into that. But first, the crucial question, what coffee have you chosen for today?
I thought you'd forgot to ask me that, and I was like, oh no. So I've chosen a mocha because I would love to get into coffee. I've really tried to get into coffee, but I just need a bit of chocolate, so it's a mocha.
It's fair. It's you're not the first mocha on the show,
no,
so no, it's not so much of an out there choice. You're the second mocha, but no, it's a nice choice, and it's a good afternoon afternoon coffee. A mocha.
Yeah, a bit of sweetness.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had far too much coffee already today, but this is an oat flat white, so I've got a little bit of milk in there to take the edge off this one.
Nice.
But no, let's dig in. So, yeah, social media, you're in the performance side of it with everything you do, eight&four. Tell me a little bit about like where you think we're at with social media at the moment, and yeah, what the state of play is.
Yeah, so I would say more recently social media has become the heart of digital advertising. When I first got into the kind of social media space, it was very much a line on a media plan, or it was a supporting channel. When I worked at Publicis Media, I was in the paid social team, and it was very much like create a reach and frequency campaign, let it run, and do a report, and then repeat it. Yep. And it was never the main event. So what we're kind of seeing now is a shift, and actually brands, when they launch, they look at social first. They can reinvent themselves on social. They can essentially do full funnel advertising on social, and they can meet all objectives. So it's no longer a line on a media plan, it's so much more than that. Campaigns can be born on social, they can live and breathe on social, and I think it's a really exciting time for social media. One of the topics which I find most interesting is that shift in channel choices. So originally for social media, it was very much traditional channels, so Meta, X, and what we're seeing now is a little bit of a rejection of those channels, for probably obvious reasons, I would say. But with that rejection comes a bit more of a level playing field for the rest of the channels that brands have options for. And we're seeing more emerging channels like Discord, Bluesky, Reddit is obviously a huge one. Don't know if you're on Reddit, if you do much on Reddit, but
I know very well of Reddit. I'm on Bluesky.
You're on Bluesky? Yeah. Oh, there you go. But Reddit is like a huge one for us at the moment. We're getting a lot of brands ask about Reddit, so whether they should have a presence on Reddit from an organic perspective, whether they need to be doing paid advertising on Reddit, and if they are doing it, like what format should they be doing, or actually if they should just take the insights from Reddit and use it on other channels as campaign activations. So they've had a huge year. They've had an 84% increase in advertising revenue year on year.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's just a huge topic for us at the moment. So yeah, I would say definitely a level playing field when it comes to the channel choices, which makes it far more exciting than it was before.
Definitely, and that's so interesting about that growth in Reddit as well, because I think it ties into that. Reddit in particular ties into this notion of social media and community, because Reddit's where people go, like it's basically like the nerdiest of the nerdy go to find out everything about what they love.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You want film spoilers, you want to go in depth on film production or music, and when the next Taylor album's dropping or something like that. These huge fan communities, and exist and they seek stuff out on Reddit. So I'm not surprised in the growth, but it's interesting like that people are kind of, that's now a consideration for a media plan as well.
Yeah, 100%. I have a nerdy story actually about Reddit, which was during lockdown, my first Reddit experience was Animal Crossing and going on Reddit and negotiating turnip prices.
Amazing.
So like that is like my first experience with Reddit, and now it's like such a big channel that brands are actually like going in and seeing insights about their community. I think it was the CEO of Huel, like he only does his brand research, product research on Reddit.
So interesting.
You don't need to pay for that anymore, like just go to Reddit.
Yeah, just see exactly what your customers think of you, because your people are there and your customers are there, and they'll give you, you know, the brutal truth about something is there on Reddit if you need to find out. So that's so interesting. Turnip prices.
Turnip prices
would not be on my conversation list for today. That I thought would come up. I love it.
I loved Animal Crossing during lockdown, so we could do another session on that. If you want.
Yeah, we'll go through it. The you know, COVID obsessions, which actually I imagine really helped boost social media massively.
Yeah, we I guess we were one of the few marketing channels. Out of home stopped. Lots of different marketing channels all had a pause, and we originally did have a pause. But then all of a sudden it was, we're working with third sector who were asking us to do campaign activations for them because everyone was so into fitness. So it was all about, and raising money for charity as well. Yeah. There was a whole new lease of life for that. So we got a lot of campaign briefs from third sector, whether that be strategies, events, sign-ups. So it was actually a really good time for us in terms of social activations and campaigns.
No, it all makes sense. It's really interesting stuff. But yeah, obviously, third sector it was a really a tough time for everyone. But also, people were fundraising, people were into their health and fitness. So no, interesting. We've talked a little bit about the benefits for brands, and it's community is one that I had top of mind. But where do you think the real strengths are, and particularly now? Like you said, social's not just a line anymore, it's the full funnel. You can do everything across social. Yeah. How does that marry with performance, and how have they come together over the past couple of years? Yeah,
so I feel like on social, it feels like such an easy barrier to entry for brands now. When you think of content, for example, that content accessibility, taking TikTok, it's no longer about those high production value pieces of content, which used to be such a difficulty for brands who didn't have that budget, but now anyone can pick up a phone and create that content, and we use that content in our paid campaigns. We work with influencers, we put it on our own channels, so it's so versatile in what it can do, and that's what consumers are used to seeing now. See, when they see something that's too high production, especially on TikTok, they essentially switch off.
Right.
And something that we've always sort of said as well is there's a bit of an outdated idea that you need to get your message across in the first 2 seconds, right. Otherwise use a swipe. But really it's just their tolerance for creative is different. Yeah. So they're more attuned to sitting through a 10-minute video if it's really good content. So you don't need your message up front in the first 3 seconds if your content is good.
That's kind of batting away all the unwritten rules of social that I've been taught.
I know. And then when it comes to the measurement side of measuring all of this, because that is still what we obviously get asked, is how do we show the effectiveness of what we're doing? With social, it's so versatile and there's so many data points. And it is data overload, but I also think that's the beauty of it. I mean, I'm a performance director, so it'd be bad if I was like, I hate data. Yeah. But we look at so many different areas. So obviously there's brand lift studies, native data, all the data that we get from our creators and influencers, third-party measurements, GA4, Adobe Analytics, sometimes to our detriment on social. But then we've also got sentiment. And just going back to what you said about community, sentiment as a measurement indicator is so powerful. Yeah. And it's something that we've got many tools for at 8&4. We always look at the sentiment, what people are saying. That's just the best way to know how your content has landed. Yep. And then even into engagement definers. So on social, I guess the beauty of it for us is we can see how many people have saved our content, how many people have shared our content, who's reposted it, from a paid perspective as well. So those are really important metrics for us as well. It's not just likes and impressions and things like that. We try to go a bit more of a different way with it, a kind of measurement framework 2.0 is what we call it. So we look at different layers of the measurement side, but there's so much to look at, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, just you've just mentioned, across the board, so many different stats, so many like data points that you can pull from it. I'm really interested in the sentiment side because the industry is famed for chasing the vanity metrics, the likes, the kind of instant click stuff that kind of boosts egos and make you feel like you've got a massive reach. But sentiment is a driver, and the fact that can be, it can be analysed now. It can be picked up, and back to your point on Reddit, your community will tell you what they think of your product, and the sentiment analysis, like in terms of showing a brand how their stuff's working, it's fascinating. Yeah,
100%. And then even to add another layer to that is brands now want to know how they're showing up in LLMs.
Yeah.
So it's like, just here comes another measurement layer that we need to look at. And again, that's why Reddit has been so big for us in terms of the conversations we're having with clients, because they also know that Reddit is cited within ChatGPT, etc., as one of the main sources. Yeah. So they're like, okay, how do we persuade that? How do we influence LLMs? How do we get our content showing up in that place? So it's a whole nother question that we're being asked on social now. Yeah. Social search now, huge.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. And I think that was, before LLMs, and I'm thinking in the last year or so before, and LLMs were there, but they hadn't really taken hold in the way that they have now, when it's kind of only game in town stuff. But people were talking about TikTok as the new search engine and how that was the rival to Google. This was before OpenAI has now launched its own browser this week, and we're looking at a very different question again. But social has that power. Like people would, you're looking at TikTok for a restaurant near you, and who's got the best content, who surfaces first. And TikTok's a powerful one as well for that in particular.
Yeah, 100%. We work with quite a few travel clients. So when it comes to the social search sort of area, well, going back to the channel changes, what I said originally as well, that's where we've also flipped it for travel clients, because originally Facebook was like the loyalists, the fans in the Facebook groups. It's like, okay, we don't need to like target them anymore. We actually need to flip it and focus more on Reddit, on TikTok, on Pinterest, still where that social search is happening, where we can influence it through search ads, through keywords, through discoverability. And TikTok have just released that partnership with Booking.com. Yep. So to make it even easier for travel brands, it's almost like a TikTok shop, but for hotels. And that's really important for all of our travel clients, is making it so seamless to buy a holiday. Going back to measurement again, buying a holiday, measuring a holiday direct from social is very rare that somebody will see an ad, buy a 5K holiday, like immediately. So having that creator-led content, owned content, paid activation, all kind of integrated seamlessly on the main channels that matter is just so important now.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point as well, because I've always say that I'm like a laptop out for the big purchase kind of person. Yes. Like I might do some research on the phone.
It's such a millennial thing, isn't it?
I know, absolutely. Like when it's holiday time, or not that I buy cars frequently remotely, but when it was time to buy my car, it was just like, oh yeah, this is a big laptop moment. Like, I have to get this out and sort this.
Sit down on the sofa, get it out. Yeah,
this is serious business. But I'm at the age now where that's my kind of digital learning and stuff, but it's not the same. And having that purchase journey, even if it starts with the intent in TikTok and then it moves on and the purchase is done off, it's still so important, particularly to the next generation in terms of their spend. It's so interesting.
Yeah, and then you just think when it gets to Gen Alpha, I think is the new one, I'm just going to have to relearn it all again. So there'll be new channels, new ways, new behaviours.
Yeah, and it's interesting because sometimes it has felt for a long time we're in this stasis of Meta X. Like they were the platforms, they had taken over. The change is so fast, how new up-and-comers take over and how it changes, and that's something I guess you have to be on top of all the time. Yeah,
we have to really validate if they're worth talking about. Yep. Be Real, remember Be Real?
Very briefly, yeah.
Yep, I remember doing a lot of presentations about they might be bringing in advertising, they might be doing this, and then it just gone. Yeah. And then Clubhouse was another one. Yeah. So you really do have to validate it, and when a new social channel comes out or a new community channel comes out, brands want your point of view. So you need to have that point of view, but most of the time you do just have to wait a little bit and sort of sense check, like, is this actually going to take off? Is this just a hype? And TikTok did so well, again, probably because of lockdown. Why am I mentioning lockdown so much?
I don't know, post-traumatic stress, it's caught up with you today.
It's come back again.
It's the mocker.
But probably because of lockdown, TikTok then had that moment where it could get that huge fan base, and then it was just consistent after that. Yeah. So I think it is really difficult for new and emerging channels to have that moment. I can think of Red Note, for example, when everybody was going to switch to that because they thought TikTok was going to be banned. Yep. It's so contextual as well, how successful a channel can actually be.
Absolutely. I mean, I am on Bluesky, as I mentioned. Like I still use it. We still put stuff on Bluesky. But that seemed like it was having a moment when 24 million people migrated from X for reasons. But I like that it's still a consideration and that you mentioned it, because it seems like it dropped off from the hot week or so that it had. But it's nice that it's still being considered. Yeah,
we have clients who work in the kind of medical space, and that is a huge topic on Bluesky.
Oh, right.
So a lot of the medical industry moved from X over to Bluesky. So it's interesting also to monitor the audiences that move over, because they're not all the same. Yeah. So we need to focus on the audience side as well.
Yeah, fascinating. Do you still find concerns around social? And we have just touched on X, and I wanted to talk a little bit about brand safety. Are your clients concerned about that, in your opinion?
We do get a lot of questions about X. We haven't advertised on X for 3 years or so for any of our brands. But we also, from a brand safety perspective, something that we haven't touched on is probably the AI optimizations that all of the channels are now adding on. Yep. From that perspective, we get a lot of bad feedback from clients about that. If we use it, we tend not to use it because it's not brand safe. It's quite rogue what they suggest and what they add on, changing your copy, your tone of voice, your brand look and feel. It actually takes longer to build a campaign now than it did before, because you have to spend so long individually going in and turning off all of these AI optimizations. So they've made it worse for us. And they've not made it better for brands either, because you would think they'd have stronger partnerships in order to create better AI optimized content. But I would say that from a brand safe perspective, that's a topic that keeps coming up, is the AI side of it.
Yeah, we've just had a conversation about this actually on how all the platforms are saying, just give us your target audience and we'll do the rest for you. But I imagine there's so much unpicking that brands need to do, because the copy can be crap and the creative can be dull. And the last thing I want to see is like a homogenized social where every brand has the same creative, because it's what AI spat out. And
100%.
Just this entire idea of a whole AI platform dedicated to slop posts, basically, that they're trying. Meta and OpenAI seem to want to create. I don't know who wants it. Maybe you can enlighten me in a year's time and see who's used it. But no, it's such an interesting space. Chloe, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for
great
having
to chat. I've learned. Dana, our multimedia editor, who's just behind the cameras here, we don't have to be good in 1 second, and I can stop bothering our CEO to get me better cameras. So I've learned that production values.
There you go.
Maybe we go rough and ready. Chloe, thank you so much. Really enjoyed that, and we'll have you back anytime. Thank you.